Welcome back to another episode of Dungeon Hammer, brought to you by One Mind Syndicate. I am your host, Gershwin, and I'm here with my two co-hosts.
That's All Creature.
And the Sound Alchemist.
And today we're going to be talking about how to end a session/campaign in Dungeons & Dragons 5e. Because we taught you guys how to start it, and now we're going to teach you guys when you know when to call it quits. Yep. So first, let's start off with the easy one, this session. Like, how do you know when a session is over? In my situation, it usually comes when I start seeing that the players are getting kind of antsy and they're ready to go eat, or they're ready to just call it a night. That's usually when you should look for a good place to stop. Usually, obviously, you want to stop at a point where either it's drawing the party in for the next session, or it's just a good place to there's nothing really going on that's too crazy.
Yeah,
I think the key is to try to have it end satisfying the narrative.
Yeah.
So everybody walks away, like you said, with either a cliffhanger, or maybe they're about to start a fight, or they just found out some super awesome information that they've been trying to get for all this time, or something like that they're going to want to, I can't wait to play next week, or I wish we weren't ending right now, I want to keep playing. That's a good sign. But you could also be the end of a story arc. You're finally getting closure, you're finally getting all the loose ends in line, so that everything's done, and then we end the session so that they feel accomplished.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. Too many times I feel like people are crunched on time, and it's really, you just have a bad feeling when you're in the middle of combat, and it's well, I gotta go,
and you can't go because the party needs you,
right?
But you know that the monster is not even halfway there. Yeah.
And also, the players are a big proponent of not letting you do this, because they'll do things that you had no idea that take way longer than you expected, or maybe you just thought something would be a lot shorter than it is, and then time wise, hey, we can only play till 10, we gotta end at 10 every session no matter what, pretty much. So it's not easy to do this, but if you have the power to kind of control, then you should definitely try to end things satisfyingly.
What seems too long of a session? If it goes over 3 hours, is that way too long? If it's only an hour?
I don't think we can put a exact time on it, because it depends on the party and how interactive they are towards the particular session or whatever encounter they're going through. But what I would say is that if you're a DM and you're kind of new and you're questioning how long a session should be, it's always better to end the session sooner than it is to have it go the extra, because whenever your player goes through a session where they feel oh God, I just want this to end already, that usually is something that sticks, a negative emotion that sticks to you for a while, and then next time they come, in the back of their mind, they're ooh, last time I was here for 4 hours, I was so hungry, and so I think it's always best to end a session sooner than it is
to let it go
to
on.
let it keep going.
Yeah, but not necessarily, because let's say you've already did the main portion of what you had planned, and everybody still has another hour or two until it's cut off time at the very latest. I mean, I would say just keep it going.
Well, that's what I mean. You have to feel out the party.
But what if you know that next half of the session that you had planned is going to be very time consuming?
If I was a DM, I would end it, just because then you might not reach the good cliffhanger that you wanted to reach. Because I see it as a timeline. And if they just completed an encounter and they still got an hour of just hanging out, then it's better to just if you know it's going to take 2 hours for the next encounter, then it's better just to end it then. Yeah. In my experience. Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense.
Because it's kind of the same thing with jokes. There's a reason that comedians usually only do small stand-up sessions. It's because you always want to leave them with wanting more. You never want to overstep and do a little bit more than Yeah,
but then you look at like Critical Role, and they're doing it for like what, 5 hours?
Yeah, those motherfuckers are getting paid. If you were paying me, I would sit there for 5 hours and play a game.
That's true.
And so I don't think you should take, because that's another huge downfall that I think some DMs get into, where they look at Critical Role and they think, oh, I want to be like that. But you can't. Like those people aren't realistic. Those people are getting paid to do that. Those people are professionals. So you have to really like understand your players and vibe. And just feel the vibe.
Just have a conversation. Like probably session 0 or as you're playing the game, just be like, how late do you guys want the sessions to be? Like either make an agreement beforehand, we're gonna play for 3 hours every week, or make it more fluid. Like ask every session like how, or if you have if you're a player and you have to leave early, if you're a DM you have to leave early, just let the DM know so that they know that to work around everybody's schedule, and they're not like, oh, I got or in an hour we're gonna have the awesome cliffhanger, and everybody's like, oh, we got to leave now. Like we should have told the DM that so they can like kind of plan around that.
Right.
Yeah, but it also falls towards the DM, and like one thing that I did as a DM is like I really thought that you guys were gonna like certain stories or certain story arcs way more than you did. So as a DM, it's a little harder to say like to realize that the party isn't having as much fun as you thought they were gonna have.
That's another big thing. If you notice the party's not having fun,
yeah,
do you want to rather just end it, or do you think with like the remaining time you could turn around their make them actually have fun by the end of it?
I mean, same thing as I was saying before. I always think it's better to end it sooner than to like drag it out, and because of the worst feeling too, because it like demoralizes you too. Like when like you're sitting there and 2 of the people are on their phones, the other person is like fiddling their thumbs. Like I mean, you might be able to bring it back, but if you don't, I think that's more devastating than you think.
Because the same thing could be like, oh, I have like a beholder to wake them up or like to make them pay attention, and you bust it out and they're even more bored, or they're like, oh, I died, whatever.
Yeah. So that's what I would say. Feel out the vibe and definitely like end it sooner than if you think. Have you guys had situations where you try to keep going and turn it around?
Oh yeah. When I first started DMing, because we did we have 3 hours to play. So I knew that we had 3 hours no matter what. And yeah, maybe an hour and a half in during some sessions, I'm like, yeah, like the vibe's not there. Either it's because of my DMing skills or just the way that the party's not interacting, or they're just fast tracking through everything.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, maybe I should just, call it quits early and pick it up next time. But then we'd stop and it'd be like, oh, we got an hour and a half left. Let's go play Smash Bros. So it's like...
But you shouldn't feel bad if that... Because, again, going back to the whole... Like, as a DM, you kind of feel like you're the person creating the story. So it's a judgment on you.
Right.
But it's not. Like, you as a DM are just as much of a player than everybody else. And you shouldn't feel bad that, like, we want to go play some 40K or we want to go play some Smash Bros.
Right. Because, like...
circle jerk. Like, I mean, that's fun.
That is smashing the bros, right?
Yeah, that's what it's called.
That's right.
Yeah. Now, that's all about sessions, like just how to finish a session. What about a campaign?
Yeah, the campaign is kind of tricky.
Well, this one's way easier. You just start a global pandemic. That way everybody has to stay in their houses and you can't play D&D anymore. Campaign ended.
Oh, well, there's a will, there's a way.
That's true.
You could FaceTime, Skype.
You just go, I'm sick, I can't.
Yeah, when it comes to... I think you have to have different story arcs. I don't think there should be a... Like, I think every DM's goal should be to end the story when your players reach level 20.
Really?
Yeah.
I disagree.
So let me finish though.
Yeah.
So the story arcs is what you should focus on. So like
not the levels.
Right, not the levels. So like, okay, so I want to wrap up this story arc and then feel the vibe of my players. Maybe it's time to end. But your goal in the back of your mind should be that if my players want to keep going with, and they want to keep meeting or whatever, then I want to take them to level 20 and beyond. Well, not beyond, right? But like they keep playing at level 20. But you really focus on the story arcs then. So not so much like I don't think as a DM you should think like, how am I gonna kill these guys off? How am I gonna like end the entire story? Right. Yeah.
Because I know at first what I was thinking is, damn, how am I gonna make my narrative last 20 levels?
Yeah.
You're not.
No, it's don't.
Yeah, it's you kind of have to, if you want to do that, you kind of got to have stuff going on that they never know about until level 15 that somewhat is connected to your story. But I don't think every campaign has to be from 1 to 20, even if like everybody's into it, because you can have a really memorable arc. Let's say, we'll start at level 5, and once my story's done, whatever level you guys are at, then the story's done. That's serving the story more than the game, I guess.
Yeah, and so I think that's more of what D&D is.
Yeah, like I'm not a good proponent of this method because I just keep going. I try to just keep going as long as possible. I've never
tell me about it.
I got the stamina of a bull. Just keep going.
Yeah, it's like, dude, how do you not chafe?
Lube.
Petroleum jelly.
But yeah, just if you have a story in mind that you has an end, and they're only level 7 or 8, then just end the story, and that's fine. And then you can start a new campaign, new characters, and all that. It's always fun to make new characters and start a new campaign. So people will miss their old characters, but if the story is done, then it kind of feels like we said with the session. If you're just dragging it out to level 20 when it really should have ended at level 10, then it's gonna feel like that.
Right. It's better to miss your characters than to be like, oh well, my character should have stopped at level 10. I don't like what he became by level 15 or whatever. Yeah,
but I think that's. So there's a lot of situations though where the players get attached to the characters that they created. And sometimes it is a bummer. Like if you do have a party that wants to keep playing, they want to keep playing their characters.
Yeah.
And sometimes it depends on the player and it depends on the party. But sometimes you do have players who like want to keep playing, but only if they play their players at the level that they're at, and also at the type of characters.
What you could do is just kind of if your session ends at level 12, let's say, and your story's done. Just like go back to the drawing board. Maybe if they really want to keep playing their characters, take a break from them while you kind of go from 12 to 20, make a different story, start up something completely new. But instead of just every week meeting and dragging it out, be like, okay, if you guys want to keep playing, you got to give me time to think of something to actually think of a story, because...
Or just give the DM reins to somebody else.
Yeah, you could do that too, if someone wants to step up. But if they all want to play their characters... Yeah, just let them know, like, this is where my story ended. If you want another story, then you're going to have to give me time to actually think of one.
Yeah. That's why it's important, though, to think of it as segments. And those segments are the stories and the narratives.
Finishing up a campaign, do you ever feel like there is a need to do, like, a prologue? Like, tie up any loose ends or anything like that?
I think it would be nice. I think it would be really cool if people found out. Because one thing that I've noticed with almost every DM that I've had is that you guys put a little too much emphasis on like the mystery, and like honestly we're probably not going to be able to solve those mysteries, so just like having a prologue and having like a nice like ending to a story is good. Getting rid of those mysteries. Because I think a lot of people fantasize with the idea like, oh, maybe in like a year we're going to play again.
Yeah, especially if you know that's not going to happen. Yeah. Like, if you're not going to play these characters, not going to play in this world, the story's completely over. Yeah, there's no harm in just being like, these are the answers. This is what's going on.
As if you do that, as a DM, how much time should you invest in rounding out a story? So like, let's say you do end your campaign, but there's still loose ends. How much time do you invest in giving the answers to those loose ends?
I think it'd be just a single session, if that. The way I would do the epilogue, because prologue comes before, right? It's the epilogue that comes after. So the epilogue would kind of be like a I'd get one-on-one with every person on the table, ask them, well, what do you think happened? Or what's something your character would have done after the campaign ended? Mm-hmm. And then using, not necessarily word for word what they said, kind of use that to kind of influence certain events, and then tie that in with other characters from the party. So like the last session wouldn't really be more of an actual session. It'll be more like a storytelling. So I'd be like, okay, this is what happened afterwards. Your character rose up and took care of this kingdom or whatever. Or your character sacrificed herself and did this for this person, etc.
Yeah, I like
that's a good idea.
Because that way, if you end up playing the epilogue, what if that character dies?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's best to leave it kind of where you left off and just kind of, give them a little story at the end.
Or if your character wanted an epic death, give them an opportunity.
Right. Because when you're rolling the dice, a lot of things can happen.
Yeah.
Not according to plan. Yeah.
Right.
Not according to plan A?
Or B.
Oh, okay.
I've never actually ended a campaign naturally.
What do you mean?
Like, they've all kind of like, the campaign just... Well, I guess I killed all my players, but then they just didn't want to play anymore. But then I've never like had a story come to a close for a whole campaign. For the small arcs, yes, but never like a long flowing campaign.
Because I feel like that's the issue with a lot of media when they're telling a story. They never quite land the ending.
Yeah, it's hard.
Game of Thrones.
Yep. Lost. Dexter.
Yep.
A lot of really good shows that are just the ending is not. And it's intimidating because you're not going to please everybody,
right?
And you don't know what you probably do have a good idea what your players want and what they're going to like at this point if you're played a long campaign. But even then, it's hard to stick the landing.
Right. It's a lot easier if you're doing like a one shot because you have the whole thing already thought up. It's more of a railroad where not a lot of things can happen to derail you. So you know the ending, the middle, and the end. And that's a nice little story. But when you're doing like this grander campaign, that's when more things happen. New things that you never thought of get brought into the mix. And it's like you got to wrap up everything that's been going on while also thinking about your players' motives and events that's happening to the world. That's a lot to think about.
For sure. And don't be discouraged if you don't stick the landing because it's just a game and you're going to have other opportunities to get better and stuff like that.
Yep.
Kind of like in Cinderella.
What about Cinderella?
Did you know what she said when she got to the ball?
Okay.
Yeah, that's very relevant to ending a session. Because usually that is a session ending. A move, right?
Well, because she got to the end of the
ball. Okay, yeah.
It makes sense.
Yeah, I get it.
You got to think about it.
Yeah, so look at pop culture for ending ideas like Cinderella and all that.
So we could look at pop culture and look at the good endings. So like, what are some examples of some good endings? Because I think the Lord of the Rings did a really good job of like. So I
don't know, because that whole Ghost Army felt like a cop out for me.
A lot of people give crap to the Eagles too.
Yeah.
Well, but there's explanations to both of them. Except maybe the Ghost. The Ghost never really bothered me because like their whole story was that they were the ones that abandoned his father, right? Or his ancestor. But the Eagle thing, it kind of, I think that point though is that kind of like what you were saying. Don't be intimidated by not sticking the landing because even the Lord of the Rings, which is considered in my eyes a good ending, is still missing some points.
Yeah, you can still poke holes in it if you try. And
also the Eagles are like not just regular like Eagles. They were if they would have been close to the ring, they would have taken the ring. Supposedly, that's what their thing is. That's what Tolkien said, that they are as powerful as the Balor. So if they would have been that close to the ring, they would have been drawn to it and they would have worn it. Supposedly.
Oh, they would have used it.
Yeah.
They become evil eagles.
I don't know if they were an evil eagles.
Invisible eagles.
Yeah.
Eagle, I guess. They can't all wear the ring.
But
one ring to rule them all.
But the nice thing about that is that the main either mystery or villain that you throw at the party or the campaign should have a nice close. And I think that's what the Lord of the Rings did. The ring was burnt, Sauron was dead, and the orc army just kind of fell into the ground.
And that's something that you kind of knew from the beginning. I mean, that's true. But that's something that you kind of knew was going to happen from the beginning.
Yeah.
Should you even do that with a session, like a big campaign like that?
I think you do, because the tropes, I think that especially in the internet, people criticize tropes a lot. Mm-hmm. But you need them. Like that. Yeah. That's how our brains are wired. We need to have a nice, neat ending. And if we don't get it, if we make a realistic ending, like nobody wants to see your character get pregnant and like have to live the rest of your life in a
work a 9 to 5.
Yeah, exactly. Nobody wants that.
Gotta pay child support.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Wasn't even your kid.
That's a half elf. I'm not an elf.
Maury.
But yeah, I forgot where I was going with this.
Sticking the ending, using tropes.
Oh yeah, use tropes. Yeah, for sure.
In your opinions, do you think? Because when I think of like huge epic storylines, Lord of the Rings is a big one, but the whole Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah, that's true.
That
could have been real bad, but it was very good.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not even done. Going back to the whole thing where you were saying like pay attention to the story arcs and not like an actual level.
Mm-hmm. And also it was a really good ending. Now we're gonna start finding out whether or not they're milking it or they have another arc in mind, because I'm kind of like lost my excitement for these next Marvel movies, because that was a huge ending, the one that we've been waiting for so long, and now it's like they're coming out with movies that I don't really care about.
Yeah, because I remember after Infinity War, the first one. Mm-hmm. Like, the next movie was, like, Ant-Man and the Wasp. I'm like, why am I watching this? I don't want to know what happens to them.
Yeah.
Like, just bring on Endgame. Yeah. And I think that's another thing to keep in mind with your D&D sessions. Mm-hmm. When something really epic happens, don't take any, like, shortcuts or, like, side quests. Like, go keep the ball rolling. Like,
keep the momentum.
Yeah. Build it up until you're about to blow, and then give it to them. Reach the ball, guys.
Yeah, reach it.
Wow.
Yeah, there was something that you guys reminded me about now that we were talking about this.
Marvel milking it?
Yeah. I think it ends with murder, right? Or not murder, but death.
Not necessarily, because you don't have to kill the big bad. You could talk them into being a good guy again or something.
No, but I think like what I'm saying is it was very impactful that spoiler alert, Tony Stark dies.
What?
Yeah. So I think.
But Iron Man's okay though, right?
Oh, of course. Okay. Yeah, he lives on his daughter, right?
What? He has a daughter?
He has 2 daughters. But yeah, shit. I lost my train of thought again. What I was trying to say is that. Making it impactful, making the ending impactful, not just like you said, maybe not just killing the bad guy, but like making it emotionally like or what is it called, like
breathtaking.
I think you were leading towards character dying at the end as well with the Tony Stark thing.
Yeah, but that's because it's impactful. Like we grew up watching Iron Man. He is the one that started it, and now his death is meaningful. So I think ending a story with some meaning, it doesn't necessarily have to just be like, oh yeah, you killed the bad guy, is really powerful. And don't be scared to throw in like a really difficult battle where the majority of the party will die.
Yeah. Do you think that there should be a chance that they like the bad guy wins and just kills all your characters at the end?
Definitely.
Every time, yeah.
Because I feel like adding realism is better than going to script, quote unquote.
So, yeah, okay.
But that's when you gotta like play up to things. Like obviously, if you're in the final battle, you're fighting like the Lich King or whatever, and your notes go, they kill the Lich King, the world is saved. This is what happens. Like you could just say the Lich King kills an enemy or kills one of your party members, resurrects them, and uses them to continue like furthering like his agenda. That could happen.
I think I agree, but Gersh, you said that we need tidy endings. Mm-hmm. Would you say that the bad guy just wiping out the party is a tidy ending?
Tidy ending for him, for the bad guy.
All right.
Well, for you too, it gives you closure. It gives you closure. I died. I wasn't tough enough. Mm-hmm. When combat was going on, I did some mistakes and I died. I think that's
when it really
good
mattered.
Closure. Yeah.
It's like, damn you, DM. Should have given me the lucky feat.
Because another thing too that I think the docile creature has mentioned is that as a DM you kind of have to know what how much your party can take.
Yeah.
So building that end scene, you've had maybe an entire year of playing with these
20
people.
levels.
Yeah, you need to know that. You need to know what these guys can take, and just give it to them. Like, no,
Hard.
Don't hold back. Yeah, like
Hit
don't
'em hard,
even
hit 'em
wear
fast.
pants. Just fucking all the freedom in the world.
Is it best to have an emotional ending or like one that's like full action nonstop?
We both.
Yeah.
I don't think I would, if you were giving me the options, which you are. I would take the emotional one as opposed to the cool epic fight with the dragon, because
I feel like the emotion comes after the action, because that's when people are dead and like you're coming to terms with how everything is ending.
yeah.
I agree. Emotion.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I would have thought you guys wouldn't really care much about the emotional parts.
That's the only thing I care about.
Because I feel like in
Sound
D&D,
Alchemist.
you're not building an emotional character. You're building the best, strongest character.
No,
Not
that's
me.
what I thought when I first started playing D&D.
That's what Rick still thinks.
Yeah, but like as you go further, you're like, oh yeah, the only times I'm having fun is when my emotions are attached to this game. This isn't 40K.
It's not.
Yeah, and some people like to play it like MMO, like World of Warcraft, where they get gear and they level up and they get good. And then there's the other side, like us, that kind of like the more
We like to
role play
cry.
side of the.
We're sensitive.
Yeah.
We're simpletons.
Mhm.
We like it in the.
Well,
Ain't nothing simple about that.
Except everything.
yeah.
Just stick it in. We'll take the beads out first, but
Well, maybe you want them to go deeper. I don't know.
Whoa.
they. There's more than one.
Well, I mean, yeah, you don't just put one bead in.
Oh.
But yeah, sticking the landing.
It's actually
hard.
it's hard because the more I think about it, the more I realize that it does require really good DMing skills for you to put a challenge in front of a group of people that is going to give you a result that you want, and that result, like you really have to be creative, and twist whatever result comes and not make it feel forced.
So let me ask you this: we've all played a long-standing campaign that did come, quote unquote, to an end.
Yeah.
How did you feel about that?
I think that's an example of how challenging it was, and especially because there's so many. I guess this is something that we haven't talked about, but there's so many elements between like DM and player relationships and player relationships, because there's so many NPCs that are out there that you kind of have to figure out a solution for, and sometimes you don't. But all in all, like it's something hard. That I don't think I've seen done well because it's so difficult.
Yeah.
Right.
And you kind of have to do it a few times to get good at it. So
Yeah.
you're not going to hit the first, second, maybe not even the third time.
That's why you should take each story arc, mini story arc, as like a way
Practice.
to practice. Yep.
Yeah, because even though we played this campaign for over a year, had different character arcs finish and start, and some never even got to do their character arcs from start to finish. It was an interesting way to end things. But I think the player to player and player to DM relationships are a huge thing that are gonna affect how you view the ending of a story.
And it goes back to the emotional thing.
Right.
Like I think there's.
I think the trust between everybody is what really makes the payoff the best. Because if you feel like your DM was cheating you in a way, then obviously you're gonna be like, oh, this ending battle was just a way for you to jip me, or a way for you to like make it up to me, and it wasn't really what it was supposed to be.
Yeah.
Same thing with other players too, because if you don't build that emotional bond between players, somebody dying or somebody getting the win or whatever could be viewed as like animosity, or, oh, you let me die, you could have helped me, you were just going in to kill the big boss at the end instead of helping the party.
You want to get the killing blow on the big bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're killing blow. Yeah, it's difficult to have a group of people feel emotions and also have fun for that ending thing.
Right.
And that's probably why a lot of sessions don't end naturally. Like they just kind of peter off or just stop abruptly because
your mom
vibes aren't we're on the same wavelength. We're not trusting each other. We're not wanting to play the game in the same way.
Mm-hmm.
So if it doesn't happen, like I've been playing for a while, I've never done a natural ending just because lives change. Even if it's not like we're not getting along or we're not on the same level. Hey, I got a new job. I can't do it. We can't play anymore. So just don't expect it to happen because I think it's kind of rare to have a natural ending to a campaign.
Yeah, it's like, sorry, can't play today, guys. There's a pandemic going on.
And then that happens for months, and it's like, oh, do we want to play anymore? Or is that time slot filled up with something else? Or...
Looters took my house.
Yeah,
I can't.
They took your house?
I can't DM. Yeah.
Just picked it up and walked
I just
away.
woke up on the street.
Yeah.
My house was gone.
Yeah. It's a strange world we live in.
Yeah.
Yeah, but don't be discouraged. And ending a campaign is maybe not even something that you should.
Don't even end it. Just
much.
stop talking to all your friends.
Just like we're gonna do.
Mid sentence, it just cuts off.
If you guys have had experience with ending a session, whether you're the DM or the player, and they did it well, please let us know how. What key things, in a broad sense, but also specific sense, did they do? And thanks for listening, guys. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We're going to post some more cool content soon. And we appreciate all of our subscribers.
Spread the word. Tell your friends.
This is Gershwin.
The Sound Alchemist.
That's All Creature.
And we are out of here.
Always used to put my freedom first in any situation.